today. Our gospel is from John 5, verses 1 to 9. John 5, 1 to 9. After this, there was a festival of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now in Jerusalem, by the sheep gate, there is a pool called in Hebrew Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay many invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. And while I'm making my way, someone else steps down ahead of me." And Jesus said to him, "Well, stand up and take your mat and walk." At once the man was made well, and he took up his mat and began to walk. Now that day was a Sabbath. This is the gospel of our risen Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus.
Several years ago, I was doing what I hope I get a chance to do this summer if the weather ever clears and it gets warmer. I like taking my boat and going around the islands, around the bay, sometimes even taking it up into the basin here. That's what I like to do. Several years ago, I was doing that. I was about ready to put the boat away for the night, and I saw this beautiful sunset, and I thought, I should go out to the back of the island and just enjoy that sunset before I tie up. Well, I got out the back of the island, and I thought of a friend of ours that lived on the back of the island. Well, he summered on the back of the island. I thought, I wonder if he's home. Maybe I haven't seen him in a while. So I went ashore just for a very short amount of time. Knocked on the door. He wasn't home. And when I went to go push the boat back into the water, guess what happened? The tide. I got grounded out. And I was stuck. And I was by myself. Thankfully, nobody was waiting for me back at the trailer. But I was stuck. There was nothing. There was the water. I wanted to get into the water, and I could not. Thankfully, it wasn't an absolute high tide at the time I put in. It was probably already 3/4 of the way out. So that meant I had a 3-hour wait as opposed to a 12-hour wait, and would have had to camp out with the mosquitoes and all the other stuff that is around that time of year, and enjoyed a beautiful sunset. But I was stuck. There was nothing I could do. There was nobody to help me push that boat in. That was it. And sometimes we get stuck in life, don't we? Sometimes in circumstances, situations, we feel stuck. Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah.
Anyone feel stuck today? No, that's good. We've all had times in our life when we feel stuck. The man in today's gospel is stuck. For 38 years, he's been sitting on his mat. That's a long time, 38 years. When I first heard this story as a kid in Sunday school, 38 years seemed a long, long time. We're on this end of life. 38 years is still a long time, but doesn't feel quite as long, does it? Long enough, though, isn't it? Every day was the same. He'd sit on his mat, he'd wait, he'd watch for the water in the pool to be stirred up. See, there was a belief that this pool of water called Bethesda, I don't know why I can't say that today. Bethesda. It had healing properties that could change one's life. It was said that every now and then an angel would stir the water and the water would begin to bubble, and the first one to get in the water would be healed. The man in today's gospel won't move until he sees the first bubble. He was living an as soon as life. As soon as that water begins to bubble, I'll get up and I'll get in. Do you ever have those situations in life? As soon as the kids are out of the house, as soon as I retire, as soon as I win the lotto. I'm sorry, Presbyterians, we're not supposed to buy lotto tickets, are we? I don't know. As soon as. Has anyone ever lived life as soon as?
Yes. As soon as the sun comes out.
Yeah, as soon as the sun comes out. Exactly. That's right. And this man was living in the as soon as stage of life. He's unable to see that deep well of life that is within him. He's convinced that life will bubble up outside of him, over there in that magic pool of water. And we all have our Bethesda, our magic pool of water. For 38 years, this man has been saying to himself, as soon as the water bubbles, I'll get up off my mat. As soon as I get to the water, my life will be better. As soon as I get to the water, my life will be fixed. I've said that in some form or fashion. Have you? That's not, however, the life Jesus offers. The life Jesus offers does not happen as soon as. It happens in this place. It happens at this time. It happens in these circumstances. It happens in the here and the now. That's a good message for us as a church, isn't it? We come and we're faithful, and it's very tempting, though, to say, as soon as we have a full-time pastor, we could do something. As soon as we have more people, we can this and do this or do that. So as much as it happens with the individual life, it can happen in a community of faith as well. But Jesus works, not as soon as, but in the now. As he did, as he came along and spoke to that man on the mat. I don't know what this man's illness is, but I have experienced in my life, and I bet you have too, that soon as period. My guess is that every one of us could tell a story about when we were stuck. That's about more than physical illness or condition. It's a spiritual condition, a disease of the soul, a soul sickness. Sometimes it feels like our life in general is stuck. Other times, it's more specific. We come to a stuck place concerning a decision, or we find a stub place in particular circumstances, such as our marriage, our relationship, maybe in parenting. Oh, as soon as I can get these kids out of the house. And then you want them back. Work as soon as, oh my, that stuck place at work. I remember that. A sense of calling or dream for our life. A deep longing or desire, faith and spirituality. When I'm stuck, there's no movement in my life. I'm not getting anywhere. I do think and believe the same old things. I listen to the same old voices within me. I repeat old patterns and behaviors, and then wonder why nothing is changing. I let my past, what has happened to me, or what I've done, or what I've left undone, define me. Does that strike a familiar chord with any of us today? I identify with my wounds, my grief, my losses. They aren't the things that have happened to me. They are who I am. Out of fear or anxiety, I frequently choose to remain with what is safe, what's familiar, what's predictable, rather than risk the uncertainty of something new. I often don't take responsibility for my life or myself. Of course, it's always somebody else's fault, isn't it? I bet it's the same way with some of you, too, right? You know, how often do we hear that? You know, oh, if it wasn't for so-and-so, if it wasn't for that one, I wouldn't be, no. You see how easy we can fall into that. I convince myself that other people or circumstances are why I'm stuck. Oh, I am so guilty of that. If they would just change, I'd be better. If they would have just let me do this or that, my career could have taken a different direction. If. When I am stuck, I live in a as soon as life. Most of us know what that's like. We say to ourselves, or maybe even out loud to another, as soon as this or that happens, everything will be better. I'll be happy. My problems will go away. I'll be satisfied and all will be well. When I'm stuck, the waters of my life are stagnant. Nothing is bubbling up for me. My world is no larger than the mat on which I sit, and I live with the illusion that there is some magic pool of water out there. And as soon as I get to it, then, da-da-da-da-da. Does any of that sound familiar? When have you experienced those things? In what ways do they describe your life today? What is the as soon as for you today? Chances are it's pointing to a place in which you are stuck. But here's what I wonder. What if the stuck places in our lives are about more than our circumstances? How many times have we used our circumstances as an excuse to stay stuck? I'm not suggesting that the circumstances of our lives are irrelevant or have no effect. That's just not true. Our circumstances are our circumstances, and sometimes they're difficult. They do affect us. But what if we dealt with ourselves before dealing with the circumstances? When we talk about our stuck places, we're really just describing the symptoms of something that is going on within us. What's going on within you when you are stuck? What if the stuck places in our lives are pointing to and showing us something about how we see and relate to ourselves in our lives, our patterns, our thoughts and beliefs, and aren't simply circumstances to escape or get away from? So Jesus did not help the man get into the water. He said, "Come on, I'll help you. Come on, get up. Let's go." He didn't. He comes to him on the mat, the same mat and situation. The man has been on it for so long and wanting to escape, and he speaks words of life and resurrection. That word, resurrection. We're still in Easter. And he goes to him, and he's very direct. Stand up, take your mat, and walk. If the man is going to do that, if he's going to stand up, take his mat, and walk, he will have to let go of Bethesda, the magic pool of water, and begin to reimagine himself larger than his history, larger than his story. He will have to reimagine himself as more than what has happened to him or what he has done and left undone. He will have to see himself as larger and more than the past 38 years. And he will have to do it over and over and over again, as do you and I. So where are you stuck today? You got it? You know what it is? There's only one thing left to do. Stand up, take your mat, and walk. That's Jesus' call to each of us. To say to ourselves, I am not what has happened to me. I am what I choose to become. I am not my roles. I am my journey. I am not my limiting experience. I am the creative power of my potential. What does that mean in your life today? What do you see when you reimagine your life and who you are? stand up, take your mat, and walk.